What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you are shopping for fundamentally strong projects, and in this week I'll be bringing you some really high quality videos regarding some key great projects that are severely undervalued and they're solving real world problems, right? The problem with crypto right now is there are 28 million tokens, hardly any utility and longevity. Now let me start by saying Arweave does actually tackle one of the internet's biggest problems, and that is the 404 errors, by introducing a protocol called ARIO network and of course AO the computer. All of a sudden the Arweave ecosystem is becoming a really truly decentralized set of tools that can obviously grow and flame the scarcity, price appreciation, and the demand for the Arweave token for years to come. So in today's video, guys, I want to talk about Arweave, AO, ARIO network, and how they all interchange. But let's start with the one that you know the least. And most of you don't actually know the permanent cloud network. You know the permaweb or permanent storage, but this is basically uploading files from Arweave to the cloud, and these become resilient, self-sovereign, interoperable set of data. And we're talking about building the data layer for the internet. Okay. Now, of course, projects like this are never easy to explain to people because they do involve complex way of looking at things. And again, risk does remain because, for example, ARIO network is just around $2 million in market cap. So none of this is financial advice. What I'm actually looking for is the scale of development when it comes to tackling something that is very much a massive problem within the internet. So I'm going to try and explain to you what this means. Okay. Again, I love these kind of bear market moments because they, I've done research for days. I'll be bringing you other videos as well, like on Tau, Casper, Sui, and all of the other fundamental projects that I think will have longevity. Of course, we could strike it lucky with any of the smaller ones and do 100x. But this is very important to understand what these terms mean, and of course how we can actually benefit from these projects. So the first thing I'm going to tackle here is the disappearance of data. Okay. Now, not many people know 404. You might have seen them, but it's the internet way of telling you the page or the file you're looking for is gone. Right? Think of it like this: when you click, your browser asks you for a specific server, a computer owned by a computer individual or a government for a file. A 404 occurs when the server is either A, number one, very important, doesn't have a file anymore, or can't find the file due to a broken link or a typo. One of the most frustrating things in the whole of crypto. How does Arweave solve this? So Arweave attacks the root cause of 404 by fundamentally changing how we store, and address the data on the internet. Instead of location-based addressing, Arweave uses this content-based addressing. Okay, so that's a paradigm shift in my opinion, from location to content. Traditional web location, your link address on the web. Arweave, your content link that points to the content itself using a unique cryptographic hash, right? So it's all complicated, but I can tell you now, permanent web, decentralized storage, decentralized cloud, or permanent cloud, actually, I should say, and of course, parallel computing. Now, why do I think this is quite key? I think solving the 404 based on this, in a nutshell, location-based setup is going to be huge. Remember what I said to you guys. In the future, in the next 10 years, some of the cryptocurrencies we know and love right now will no longer be there. In fact, 99.95% of these projects will disappear. That's why it's a blessing when you get the opportunity to DCA and look at what we can potentially do. So I always say to myself, if the price looks like a joke and it's too good to be true, then I'm looking at fundamentals. These prices for Arweave are a joke. Okay. And what do I mean by that? When the whales come in, Okay, let's keep our joke aside because not buying anything here is not funny. That's actually when you cry. But this is absolute jokes. This is bargain territory. So here's what I think. So in 2021, Arweave did a crazy, crazy number here. You could see from the bottom to the top, you know, this was a crazy, crazy move. And then last time round, it did similar numbers. In 2024, Arweave did a clean 10x, right? From these lows to these highs. Yeah, just over 10x, right? Absolutely clean. In my opinion, we could see a 20x Arweave, of course, bearing in mind that next leg move could be, you know, to the previous all-time high. I think there could be a potential for a 20x, but let's continue with the fundamentals. Again, I'm showing you the chart to show you the opportunity. Even if you were to run up to this price over here, if you even run up to this price over here, Arweave still majestic in my opinion, even at these levels, right? It is all about timing. And when I say timing, time in the market, not time in the market, right? You cannot time the market. We don't know what's going to happen. For all I know is this could be the end of the 2025 bull cycle, and we could be looking at a prolonged bear market. But if you look at any fundamentals in terms of these charts and what's going on, that to me looks like it has found the floor. And we're looking all the way back at maybe 2019. You know, look over here, look at the data here. You know, Arweave does go back a long way. So I want you to keep that in mind. Nothing is guaranteed. However, there's a strong chance of this Arweave price, based on the fundamentals alone, doing something like that. But here we go. Let's continue. So you have ARIO network, which is a micro cap at 1 billion tokens. What I like about it is it's already listed on gate.io and of course KuCoin. So what you see in here, the cloud storage option on Arweave is very, very tiny. But look at the 24-hour trading volume. What we have here is half of the circulation. Now, the difference here is obviously Arweave 64 million, fully diluted, fantastic tokenomics, should be a 3-figure coin. Then you have AO, which is hard capped at 21 million and fair launched, running around $8 at the moment. And then you got this. Now, for me, there is no volume in the market. Half circulation of the total. So the tokenomic models is a little bit different. Having said that, no one else I know is talking about this, watching this, or even thinking about it. So you do have first mover advantage. Now, when I go back to this bit here, this bit is key, guys, because what Arweave is telling you is ARIO and Arweave, along with AO, is going to make major pushes into decentralized internet, and they already have first mover advantage. Like I said, if you've got the likes of Meta, if you've got these bad boys here using your permanent storage, the problem has always been for me the monetization aspect of it. It's super cheap to run things on Arweave, to the point where you've got to create token utility. But then we're only talking about 60 odd million tokens. So that's actually doable if everybody kind of buys and holds or you know, gets, you know, puts it on lock, stake it, whatever. I think there will be a supply shock for Arweave very soon. But in my opinion, what we have is a 3-prong attack on decentralized computing with the perma web. We've got, what's the price of AO now? AO is fully diluted, is 40 million, and it is fully diluted. Now, I've been telling people to buy AO under $6, even as low as, you know, look where it went last week, $4.20. Still very, very small, right? Hardly any trading volume again. So the reason I'm doing these videos, guys, is making sure we can take advantage of things that are obvious. This is an obvious chart to me. Why? Because it has bottomed and has been at this level for a very long time now. What does that mean? Well, at some point, it's going to break out of this this level. This is ridiculous. This is all Arweave does. But what we do need to participate is when Arweave did this back in 21 and did crazy numbers. And this was the deep in run in 2024. Crazy when there's liquidity in the market. And now I'm expecting this to go absolutely vertical when the market gets going, guys. So this is just a start, in my opinion. This is just a start for this project. However, the main focus for me is Arweave, of course. I have been in AO, but I'm looking at ARIO. I haven't bought any yet. Of course, if I did, I'll announce it in the VIP group. But you might be asking, DXB, how does this benefit us? How do we get the total benefit here? X402 slicing through hype. So you're starting to see the perma web can actually play across all of these different narratives that we see in crypto. The hyperbeam is obviously radical architecture of freedom that blockchain developers aren't accustomed to. So that is your developer side. You've got privacy layer as well on the permanent storage. Foundation censorship resistant, that's very key. Privacy tools through permanent storage, encryption, and decentralized infrastructure. I think that's going to be super hot within the narrative, right? And of course, there are tons of other things that we can talk about. But essentially, how does this impact us? Okay, so we've got ARIO's rich metadata, real-time discovery, and all of that. You've got all of these different permutations. But let me tell you something. So imagine the Arweave's permanent infinite library where every book lasts forever. So AO, the computer, is reading the room where people can actively use the processes and interact with the book. So now I'm talking about how these actually, AO, Arweave, and ARIO, how they can actually be beneficial to each other. So ARIO network is the intelligent catalog that helps you find exactly what you're looking for. Hence the end of 404 errors. And that's a huge breakthrough in my opinion. So how do they complement each other? So advanced indexing. So that's what ARIO creates. Sophisticated indexes for all data on Arweave. Rich metadata, real-time discovery for AO. Processes are basically state discovery. So ARIO can index much more scalable, very fast for outputs for various AO, the computer processes. Cross-process communication, again, it's parallel, and data feeds. And that is what you need. So there are multiple ways in which they complement each other. So Arweave stores all the posts, profiles, interactions, content permanently. AO handles the social logic, following users, and of course, liking posts, running AI agents, parallel processes, and then ARIO enables the query. So I hope you like this video. Again, I do believe this is a fundamentally strong project when you consider what's at stake with all of these three different, kind of layers all into one. I want to remain very objective. Again, the crypto market is highly volatile, and none of this is financial advice, but a lot of this is absolute logic. So when the chart is low, we're interested, but what are we buying is the question. We're definitely buying fundamentally strong projects. Hope you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.